Frode, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? I cannot hear you, Frode. Are your mic on mute? Frode? Frode. Hey, Dan.
Hello.
How are you?
Strange little interface issue there. Right. Hello, Dan. Hello, Sam. Who else is joining us today? Anybody?
I saw Ed come online recently. It looks like he's going to join.
He doesn't like using new software, though.
What? He doesn't like Zoom?
I tried to get him to... anyway, let's not go into usage and stuff.
What year is this? Are we going to co-evolve?
If you want to test Apple software, you have to have a provisioning profile installed via iTunes by Apple. And Ed thought that was way too scary because my Russian programmers may have put something in it.
So he doesn't trust you.
Well, he trusts me, but he says, but he doesn't trust my You know, he's a very progressive American. He's not a Trumpy or anything like that, but he's also very suspicious towards the Ruskies or anyone else.
He grew up during the Cold War.
Shall we start then?
Yeah, I did read your magnificent write-up about the interview product. I had one piece of feedback on it you probably saw already.
Yeah, but before, because I feedback from both of you, and I want proper feedback, not integrated, but when you went to the page that says Liquid Dialogue on top, you did click, both of you clicked on mockup, right?
Hang on 1 second, let me go basically make sure.
It's kind of annoying having my office in the spare bedroom where essentially there's always a bed behind me. I have to figure out a way to change that.
Did you turn your desk?
No, I've gone through that a few iterations.
I did see those little videos, short video segments and images, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you see that as well, Sam?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, okay, and also on that page, did you click on where it says answer questions about 3/4 way down the page?
Answer questions. I must be on the wrong page.
Hello.
Hello.
Have you had a chance to look at the link that was in Skype?
Yes.
Oh, you have. Oh, that's why you posted it about Quora, right? You know, absolutely. Yeah. No, Quora is very good. When you, Mark, you also looked at the mock-up with the little videos and stuff, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure you've all also clicked on where it says answer questions and then record video answers now, because that's just a little wrinkle that was added relatively recently. Just want to make sure you've seen it.
Along with a swipe up gesture.
Sorry, Sam, what was that?
Initiated by your swipe up gesture.
Yes.
Okay, so Dan had a piece of feedback. Dan, you want to recap your feedback?
Pardon me?
You want to recap your feedback to Frode?
Oh, okay, so the essence of my feedback was, why not expand this to be a version of TimeBrowser in which, where you have a large collection of videos and it responds to a question by simply finding a clip within that set of videos, or within the videos, or within a portion of a video that best answers the question, in contrast to the idea of having a repository of pre-recorded specific answers to specific questions. So it almost, if you kind of look at it that way, it almost sounds like what Sam commented, that the system that Frode has just proposed is kind of a step along the way to a full-featured TimeBrowser.
Yeah, I definitely think that the main time browser idea we should develop so that anybody through many different means can make any kind of edits, including what you're talking about, no question. I think this is a bit different though, because if I were to ask you your position of a DKR, you will be answering that specifically. If I extract that from something you said in a different context, it may be out of context, it may not be as succinct, and it may be mixed in with a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as far as Quora is concerned, Quora is brilliant. I'm on their mailing list, so I get some of their emails, and it's really worthwhile to read. The idea here is really, if we look at someone like Doug, imagine if we had developed this when he was around. Because it's not just the text. Yes, I'm a big text person, but when Doug sometimes says yes, or when he says yes, two different things. So to be able to study a person's perspective, it's not about necessarily knowledge. So in many ways, it is very similar to Quora. And the reason I did the mock-up with all these different screens and stuff is it has to feel conversational. It shouldn't feel like you're typing in a query, getting a video, playing it back. So, yeah. But anyway, there are so many issues with this. To make this a success, even if we all enthusiastically supported it, it would have to be seeded with some real quality long interviews from some very interesting people. So at least as part of our notions now. I'm not saying no, full steam ahead. Yeah. Hi, Carl.
So
Sam,
anyway, I wanted to actually just bring to your awareness that on November 20th of 2008, I did a approximately 1 hour interview with Doug at SAP, and this is a question and answer form. So I would ask him a question, he would answer, and that would be, I think, perfect content, it seems, for the description you were just describing. In addition to which, even when the question matched precisely, it is still useful, I think, to take Dan's idea, the one that I was hinting at, and say, here's all the other 7 times that Doug was speaking about growing up as a child. So even though there's the precise response that he's bringing to that one question, there's additional detail that one could go navigate to and then get additional perspective on if he chose to do so. So it's not a single response, it's a single plus recommended other content. Over.
I suppose when you're doing kind of after the fact harvesting, let's say you've used TimeBrowser to record an interaction with a number of people, and you find some significant statements here and there, then it becomes kind of like Jeopardy in a way that here's the response, but what was the question?
Exactly.
And work backwards.
And that could definitely be gamed as well, as you know, Mark.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
How you ask the question could definitely, sway the listeners or readers' view of the response.
Yeah. So you want to retain a lot of context, basically, as well.
Right.
Doug said this at this time.
Right. And he was speaking to this audience under such an invitation that was paid for by so-and-so, blah, blah, blah.
I think we're talking about so many different interesting things here. I think that the biggest strike against this liquid dialogue, and of course that's not a shipping name, it's just something I'm using now. Please don't think I'm making some commercial idea out of this on my own. It was just easier for me to present it this way. It's also, it doesn't use the notion of having real-time video coding. That doesn't have so much value here. I think that what you guys just talked about, to be able to take different things and link them together, we need a bigger structure than this. Initially, this was intended as a fun, easy to implement thing. It's quite clear, having mocked it up, that's going to cost a lot of money to build. So therefore, I think we should go back to the main time browser and really look at some of the hard questions there. The chief among which I think is, how do you identify the speaker? Because if we're going to have a demo of the time browser on the Future of Text on the 25th or 26th of August this year, and we're doing it by recording the morning sessions, how do we tell the system who's speaking? I'm not saying it's completely impossible, but of course we can have someone press record and stop per person speaking. But what about the people in the audience? How do we do this? What are your guys' perspectives on this? I would really love to hear it.
I have some memory of Google recently publishing some APIs for doing, was it face detection in video?
Okay.
Something like that would, if that's really available.
Right.
But what if the people in the audience don't have a camera on them?
Oh, and they're asking,
yeah. Someone else or something.
Yeah, a lot of these video things, I mean, they'll switch so that they're picking up the, I guess it's the microphone or whatever. So it kind of switches to here's the current speaker.
Right.
So I don't know if there's ways we could tap into that.
We could for the online version, like I can see you big now versus all the other guys. However, for the future of text, for people coming up doing a presentation and then the next person, that's all, in the room, so to speak.
Can I suggest that in conjunction with the recording facilities, which are of course core and crucial and foundational, that there's an alternate interaction mode that all the participants could have with, I would dare say, either a web app or a mobile app that's very, very quick to implement. And that is, if all 60 of us are sitting in a room.
I think you just solved your issues now. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but you're absolutely right. Keep going. Sorry, I just got very excited. Please keep going. You're absolutely right.
If you're up at the front of the room and somebody says, okay, this is now Frode, I basically have an app that's got 60 names in it, and I just push on the name of whoever's speaking, right? Only 1 out of 60 needs to do that for this thing to actually be useful.
Sorry, I'm interrupting again. Didn't mean to. Please continue.
Go ahead. You're excited. Go ahead, Frode.
If everyone has to have this app on their phone at the conference, when they speak a question, it knows who's speaking the question.
Exactly. That's right.
So the app is in charge of speaking your own voice. So if we are doing it for this audience that we are right now, like we talked about.
This notion of a meeting app is where I was going with the mobile version of this, which actually retains the identity of the people and retains maybe other links that I'm actually linking to as we're speaking, or notes that I'm taking as we're speaking, or even, pictures I'm taking during the course of the meeting and then sharing with you or others, right? Those are all time tagged. Those are all tagged with the event itself, and the IDs are all there. And it can be a web app or it can be a mobile app.
So mobile, are you all excited by this?
I am.
Record your own voice. That's the key.
Yeah. And by the way, over time with little data, because it's not that hard, we can actually have voice print analysis, identifying speakers.
Yeah, I suppose eventually something like that could be built into a conference badge. So you're wearing this badge and it's got all that stuff.
Oh, and it's shaped like the little Star Trek A, right?
Yeah. Okay, of course.
Right? And you have to tap it on your shoulder.
I could imagine us all at Mei Lin's house. Well, there's a lot of dialogue, all using this. And, for prototype, yes, actually, even if we have to hold it up while we're speaking like this, it's not that elegant, but as an initial way of doing it, why not just record the whole 2-hour meeting or whatever? And then, of course, yeah, go on, Carl.
Let's see, we're trying to remember. Was it Chris Bowie? I think he was testing out some kind of voting system back at one of the STFs. I don't know what technology he was using.
Those are remote handheld devices where you can actually send one of maybe 15 or whatever, numbers in response to questions that he posts. So it's not voice recognition, but he can actually just in the course of a meeting, put up a slide that says, how many people say A, B, or C, and you push A or B or C, and he immediately tallies it and can show you the histogram of all the responses. It's a very simple feedback mechanism. It's kind of like vote by voice, except that it's actually recorded digitally. Something the Democratic National Committee should have done.
Now, important question. Who of you are coming to the Future of Text this year? It's going to be on the 25th of August in the Bay Area, and who would like to speak?
69.5% likely.
What does that mean?
I'm going to be coming down from Seattle.
No, I need a 99 or above.
Okay, put me down at 99.
Okay, good. The rest of you guys, can you make it?
For me, it's going to depend on whether I do apply for the doctoral program and stuff.
Okay.
That would be, the orientation would be in Santa Barbara, like the week after, or like starting Labor Day. So I don't know if I can afford to be out in California. And plus all the money too, because it's going to be about $2,500. It would be about $2,500 a month, I think.
Yeah, I hope that goes well.
The deadline for applying is July 1st, so I'll know pretty much in the next few weeks if I'm going to do that. And that gets into a whole nother conversation too, because I'm actually the week of June 6th to 10th. It hasn't been, the specific time hasn't been doing, but I'm going to actually be meeting with the CIO to talk to him about my doctoral research and how I see it applying at GSA. So this is huge. I mean, this project, the more we can, if we can really make it formal, I mean, this could almost become part of my job and get my career on the track I want to be rather than where things are right now. So this is definitely like what organizations are involved. Is this like kind of that email I had sent about the PFTF? Is that it's still an LLC? We can probably, Sam and Frode and I can talk more details.
The Future of Text is a freestanding event introduced by Program for the Future sometimes. But it's just a one-off event. There's no organization or anything like that.
PFTF has been registered as an LLC, but it's not current. I could bring it current, but it's not currently current.
And then I guess, and then looking forward, looking towards the 50th anniversary too, do we see having a formal organization?
I think that depends on how serious we are about making a demo. If we really start making something, yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, I don't think there's a point for it. I don't think we need an organization until we need it, unless you have other reasons.
The main point to an organization is to deal with assets and liabilities. And until we have assets and liabilities, I don't see it.
Okay.
About making it to that conference, my colleague Bob Belford told me that he wants to go. So if you maybe follow up with him, you might be able to get a firm commitment, hopefully.
Yeah, he has told me that, so that's very, very good. That would be good. Who else wants to go?
Well, Dan, last year you guys brought more than just the two of you, right? Weren't there at least one or two others?
There was the three of us, yeah.
Yeah. And Mark, I know you weren't there last year. Are you considering coming out this time?
Well, actually, this is the first time I've even begun to consider it. So I'm actually now looking at the description of the event. I have to think about that.
Were you able to review any of the talks from last year?
No, I guess that's something I should do. Right.
It's okay, but Frode did an excellent job making sure that they were all online. So Frode, unless I'm mistaken, all the speakers' recordings are all up on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I might have seen some. Yeah, that's right. Here's the links. Yeah, got it. Yeah, yeah. So I'll check it out. And looking at the list of participants, interesting. Usual suspects.
And I think that Frode made it possible for Vint Surf to attend this year.
Yeah,
So
Vint's
it's a
gonna be
big
there all
draw.
day.
So let me give you guys a quick update. I know that I told you guys I spent a little bit of time with Dan Espenson introducing the TimeBrowser concept to him, and he indicating interest in finding out more. I had hoped last week to spend the second of my meetings with him to get his feedback on it. That was not possible, so I'm going to try and do it this coming week to see if he will actually allocate some of his time to helping us make TimeBrowser real. And I think that's exciting, of course, because he represents real capability to implement what we're talking about. So by this time next week, I think I will have a report on how that meeting went, or will go.
Yeah, that's very good. Very good.
Are you able to have a similar such discussion with Bjorn or someone in your network, Frode?
No, because, well, maybe now that we are, now that we basically pared down the system to everybody speaks into a device, Android or iOS, I think we've solved some problems. So let's re-architect it. Let me just go to our website. So initial recording. Okay. I'll write something and then we'll send it back and forth between us on the site. So we are talking to different people about implementing the same thing.
Right. So I'm still saying until August 25th, you're the product owner. I'm nominating that. I'm posing that that is a nomination and a proposal. If anybody objects, let's hear it. But I'm otherwise saying that this is probably the quickest way to get to a tight spec so that we can actually manage the schedule well.
How many of you use Android versus iOS? 2. For God's sake, why can't you guys get real phones?
We ask you the same.
Okay. I just can't afford to use Android. It's too much in the ecosystem there as a developer. Right. So, I mean, a web app is just not going to be good enough, I think, if it's on a mobile device. Make sure you're on a web page. You go away from that web page to check your email, and then you stop recording. It has to be proper native, don't you think?
Well, I mean, you could have an app that's implemented as an HTML app, basically, and it's very common.
So kind of a little cheater app, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not too fond of that, but that may be the reality we need to consider.
If we all decide to use mobile apps, then we actually have a slightly different problem too. Because if we're all gathered, let's say 5 of us around a conference table, are we going to have interference? Are we going to have echo problems? With all the recording and playback? That's another whole separate thing. If we're all remote like this, then I don't think it's an issue. But we have to think through our usage in our use cases.
It's still an issue if we don't have headsets on, because your voice is as loud as mine right now.
Well, right now the software Zoom is taking care of it.
Yeah, but in face-to-face, you don't need to. All you need to do is record. You don't need to play back, so you wouldn't have that echo problem.
But what I mean is, if I have my iPhone lying on the table,
Yes.
it's going to record your voice and mine, unless I use a headset.
Exactly. And let's say 4 of us are together around the conference table, but let's say Frode is in London, right? So he's coming in remote. So at least one speaker needs to be on.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are all things that we can decide to take quick shortcuts on. Anyway, those are, and by the way, Frode, I'm not downplaying the issue. I'm not poo-pooing the idea. I'm just saying these are things that have to be thought about as we tighten the spec.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that for the 25th, the use case is recording people on stage
Yep.
and the audience.
Yep. So either they'll have a DVR or a microphone or a phone app, right? You pick one.
Yeah, we'll have to. Yeah, I'll write about this and get it to you guys.
Yeah, for a prototype like this, we may just have, limit it to, it's only a couple of people and maybe almost like the four corners of a room, or there's enough, physical separation or something like that. It's a prototype one. Obviously there are going to be some of these kind of tech issues that we'll have to work out, or some things, really only works with a headphone and stuff. There's just too much background noise, and being able to mute everybody and then let people unmute and all that kind of stuff. There's just always problems. So I think keeping it simple, and maybe it's just, a demo, you have to have a minimum of 3 people, I think.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
I suppose for a demo, go ahead.
Could you say something, Sam?
Walked away for a second.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, it's a, let's see if this, yeah, with some of this stuff too, even in meetings with node technology, there can be such an issue, but one of the things we've done in organization development is people actually have to, literally it's like the Native American talking stick, but having multiple people talking is just gonna, it's gonna be really difficult to capture the audio.
We could have is Sam back? Yeah, Sam, you can hear us. I'm sure he can hear us. We could have one device recording the speaker and another device in the room. So whenever an audience member speaks, they're given the device and they have to type their name in after they've spoken.
Yeah, that would kind of be the talking stick kind of.
Because it would be best if everybody had the app pre-installed, but then, it's not much of a reveal in terms of it's a demo.
I suppose you would require that people speak their name first before responding, and then have recognition of that.
But look at you and me with our last names.
Well, the more strange, the better, actually.
Yeah, for uniqueness, but not for getting the spelling right. Sam, are we talking about everybody pre-installing? I like that idea, but it's also weakens kind of the demo. Maybe we should have just one device for the main speaker and one device going around the room and people enter their names as they speak.
You make the call. I actually think that, downloading an app is not such a big deal. Some people think it is, but out of 60 people, if we can get 4 people to download, install it, and participate, that's probably enough. It's not necessary to have all 60 people, and by the time you actually get 5 minutes into the demo, everybody will be downloading it.
Yeah, but don't forget, we're looking at it the other way around, that people will be using it before they know what it is.
It's okay. We show them. When you speak, you push this button.
Sam, what we were talking about, you and me before, I don't know if it was on this call or not, so I'm not sure if everybody was involved in it, is day 1, we surreptitiously record all the conversations. Day 2, first thing we do is say, hey, we recorded everything yesterday, this is what we can do with the data. But if we then, the day 1, have the audience people download the app and then speak into it, they're going to wonder what they're talking about.
All right, fine. Then I understand. Then at least, the people on this call, we got 5 at least, are going to be already clued in. And, even if we have just us 5, that's sufficient for a demo, I think. Sorry, I just heated up my water. I'm going to get my tea now because I have a cough, a sore throat.
Okay. I'm just writing notes on this.
I think for purposes of a demo, wearing headphones is okay. Although I think that's a huge issue in terms of going further.
This is for the notion is that on the future of text, when someone gets up to speak, it's recorded. Then the next day that is transcribed and we can do all those interactions. So we don't have to worry about headphones or anything about that. And assigning the speaker is not that difficult for the main speaker. However, there will be questions from the floor. How do we identify them? Okay. I think I have enough that I can put something down and then put a link soon in your in the Skype channel for everybody to go through.
By the way, just a quick answer to that question. If some of us have that mobile app and that mobile app actually lists the number of participants, then any one of us can still identify the remote participant whose identity is in question by the system.
We're not, yeah, but we're not interested in remote in this case, right?
Not for August 25th. That's right.
Yeah, so that's kind of the key initial.
Okay, done.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good call. I think it's a great set of use cases. I think it's a great way to drive towards August 25th. It's a way for you to tighten down not just what we build, but how we show it. So it makes the demo drive the implementation, which is always good for a prototype.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get that done, I'm going to have that follow-up conversation with Dan Espenson. The dog's knocking stuff over.
And then I guess if we're going to have stuff like doing basically overnight too, I guess there's certain things, I mean, we automate stuff, but then if there are some things we kind of have to do manually and stuff, but we can be, you know, these are things where, you know, that will, these are the challenges we have. We need to try to automate, you know, this, and that, and that's, you know, going forward too. But so I don't think we have to try to make everything automated by August 25th. Obviously, as much as possible.
So if we're done with this set of discussions, I have an orthogonal suggestion, related but orthogonal.
Right.
Okay, can I go?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so here's the idea. If we keep this within our team to develop, we're low on resources, we're tight on time, we're, you know, not the greatest developers in the world, you know, except for maybe some of you that I don't know about. So progress may be slow. If, on the other hand, I go back to something that you inspired me to think about, Frode, which is we publish a spec or a format or a protocol, okay, and say this is a platform on which we can enable an entire industry. And we say, here's a real-time encoding protocol, here's how recording needs to happen, here's how speaker identification happens, here's blah, 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 and then make that all open. And then people can start developing. People can start building on top of it, you know, speaker identification protocols, utterance separation protocols, voice-to-text annotators, taxonomy annotators, paragraph generators, you know, punctuation adders, blah, blah, blah. So if it becomes open, and we believe that we've done a good enough job with allowing all of these capabilities, now we open up almost an entire industry. And we don't slow down progress simply because we don't have very much money. Now, that open, actually, invitation needs to be compelling to whoever's developing. So there needs to be some compelling demo that makes people want to develop for this thing. But opening it up leverages potentially the entire world over.
A lot of, in the early days of the web, that was sort of what was done. A lot of those early specifications were put out there, I guess, by the World Wide Web Consortium or its predecessors, and then people picked up on it and implemented them, or changed and then implemented them later.
Yeah, and some people embraced and extended it in ways that the HTML was not originally intended to do, Microsoft. But, you know, we can hopefully try and prevent that.
Yeah, and then, I mean, that actually ties in because Doug's the ARC was actually coordinating stuff in the early days of ARPANET too. So, and obviously having been there, but that ties in well with the history.
Yeah.
And even the ideas I've shared too about kind of, well, the formal title was a research center for augmenting human intellect. So if we had it, like I talked about early, like a networked improvement community for augmenting human intellect and opening it up like that, that could be, yeah, I guess the core thing there then is looking at this, as you said, specs and kind of having some we need to get some standards or adopt certain things too. I mean, we need open standards so we can be building on a greatest common factors, not least common denominator.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, clearly it has to be thought about carefully, but it's an orthogonal direction rather than just saying, hey, you know, we've got maybe $480 between the 5 of us, you know, how are we going to build this thing?
Yeah, I think we do need to put it out as a compelling demo and a foundational architecture around it. I completely agree.
Yeah, I guess the key thing, I mean, in terms of the early web, the HTML spec was pretty simple. Source code was immediately available. So, I mean, those were 2 incredible stepping stones for encouraging lots of people to go ahead. But still working within that spec, although as Sam says, everyone was making their little, you remember the famous blink tag, for example.
Yeah. Tab index.
So that'll be, I think, the crucial thing is that it's simple enough and also it's promising enough so that, you know, there's some kind of wow factor there.
Yeah.
I think the audience or the market, I mean, is potentially huge because there are zillions of conferences everywhere.
Right.
You lose so much information, basically. You know.
And the dual licensing model could apply here, you know, for, let's say, one set of use cases and one sort of nonprofits. You know, we have one licensing model for people making money, you know, charging $20,000, blah, blah, blah. There's potentially another licensing model. There's, you know, technologies that have already taken multiple licensing strategies. So we could try and do something like that. By the way, I do have some meager background. Part of my past life was as a participant and then chairman of the Twain working group. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of Twain. This is probably 20 years ago. But Twain was an early specification for how devices acquired images.
Yeah, that was a color standard. I remember when that launched.
So anyway, I used to be chair of that for a few years.
But it was extremely well named because the Twain never did meet. You know, that's where the name is from, right?
Yes. Mark.
Oh, no, that was cool.
Yeah. So doing cross consortium collaboration and defining specs and coming up with reference code. Yes, I worked that for a couple of years. And HP was there, Logitech was there, Aldus, Adobe, Kodak, Reed, Ricoh, blah, blah, blah. What else today?
Well, I have something. I've been working on compiling the links that have been mentioned, many of the links that have been mentioned in the chat rooms and so on that have been using all along. And so if you have time, I could show you the result.
Sure.
So far, I don't claim that it's even great. Okay, well,
share the URL and then share your screen.
Rather than share the screen, well, I could do that. I don't know how to do that, but it does say share screen. But I have it on Workflowy with share. So if everyone wants to go to Workflowy, we could do that, or I could try to bring it up and share the screen.
I would say do both. Send the Workflowy link and then share your screen.
Okay, let me go to the Skype. I'll go to the Skype one and type in the link. If I can.
Alan K.
Okay, I typed in a link on Skype. Now let me go to the Hangout and do that. Okay, and then I'll share the screen, and then I'll try to go to Workflowy myself. Share screen.
Yeah, you got quite a bit here.
Okay, yeah. So what I've got it set for now is to show the top level. I don't have all the links, all the subheadings expanded. It's just one level of expansion.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just, I don't claim that this is the right set of 8 subheadings, but it's just some sort of developed organically.
Sure.
And if you click on any of these, for example, there's one called main points of entry. I'm clicking on that, and it just brings up a whole bunch of different, rather disorganized things that have, links to resources that have been mentioned by one or another of us at different times in the TimeBrowser discussion. I tried to, about halfway into it, I started dating them and giving a little annotated title sort of thing, snippet, and saying who the person who mentioned the link, and giving the source of the link, which would usually be another link. It's sort of, in a sense, it's a microcosm of the TimeBrowser idea, except that it's limited to links as opposed to everything. And I see all kinds of problems as I've been doing this, but I thought I'd mention it and see what you thought, see if it's worth keeping up with, or if you have any suggestions about it.
I think it's a great resource. Every team ought to have such a resource compiled, ideally not manually, but it's great that you've done it for this group.
Some of the, there's things that kind of come up, like I realized that a lot of the links start to go, the information that the link points to starts to get stale sometimes, and then it's not really clear, for example, how to make it evident that new material is, it takes precedence over old material.
Exactly.
And then a lot of times the links don't work. For example, early on seemed like there were links to the Hangout chat pages that worked, and then now they don't work anymore. The links don't seem to work anymore. So there's links don't seem to be as perfect as I would have thought when they go to these varied resources. But anyway, there it is. I'm willing to keep doing it. A number of links were mentioned today during and before our talk. Mm-hmm. I can add those in. I think there's some lessons here that this might provide that might bear on the overall TimeBrowser project. Just because.
So were you working with recordings of as the source from which you generated these?
No, I'm going with the link, just specifically the URLs or links that have been mentioned in the chat rooms.
I see. Okay.
By chat room, you mean Skype, right? Or
Skype and the Hangout. There's been a number of Hangouts that we've used at one time or another.
Okay.
Most of which are linked here, but like I said, the Hangout links don't seem to work anymore.
No, I think this is one of the 8 artifacts that a team ought to have. And so I think it's great that you've done this.
So, if I'm certainly willing to reorganize here and there as needed, or, whatever input anyone has, I'll try to see what we can do.
Yeah. I'm looking at your discussion records. I think it's really cool that you put the links to the recorded media here. Some of them, anyway.
Yeah, very, very cool.
In fact, the recorded media linked here in sub-item 8 are immediately amenable to TimeBrowser once we build it.
Yeah, a lot of that, I think it may be a little redundant because a lot of those records are, you have them in repositories of videos, Sam.
It's okay, you know. There's expected to be redundancy, and part of the smarts we're trying to build is how we recognize and resolve the redundancy and yet still come up with some useful artifacts.
Yeah.
It is okay that you record and I record. And then somewhere, you know, there's a merging process that does the right thing.
Well, okay, then I'll keep at it. It's just, you know, a few minutes after every meeting, I just add the links, and so I'll keep going.
I do think this is very valuable. I'm going to actually go through this myself in some detail.
Okay, feel free to change it or let me know if you have any modification requests.
Just out of curiosity, how long have you been using workflowing?
I didn't use it seriously until for this particular project, but I knew about. I've known about it for some time.
Yeah, I've been using it for years, and for pure outlining, it's very simple, very effective. You know, very useful.
It doesn't support enumerating the items. I had to type those in by hand.
Yeah.
But you know, so it's a product. You know, it's not a large company that's behind it. It's just a couple.
It's a very simple thing. Yeah. All right. Cool. What else today?
You know, do you remember there used to be a plugin for some kind of video conferencing where you would not be in the picture for a second, so it kind of knew the background, and then it would be able to replace the background with anything else? Why is that not in normal use?
Wait, I don't get the feature. What is it you're talking about? In other words, it would replace my background, let's say, with a shot of World War II day or something?
It could be a sunset, or it could just be a white background or a gray background or whatever. Because, you know, for instance, look at, you know, this bed is all airing out and stuff. And
yeah.
Looking at all of us, we all look, we don't look like we would if this was a sci-fi movie. We'd all be sitting up and it would all be clean background, you know? That kind of aesthetic seems to have fallen by the wayside.
If it's going to do that, not only would it replace the background, but it would make me, you know, look like big pecs, you know, big muscles, you know. I'd be a lot better looking, you know. I'd be clean shaven.
I suppose one virtue of something like that would be it would create the appearance or illusion of being in the same room, potentially.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, I mean, Apple has bought a company that captures face and renders it in 3D. So I do expect FaceTime, at least, that we will have really good avatars, since you don't have to do that. So we can shave Sam if we need to.
By the way, have you guys been watching basketball recently? The reason I ask that is some of the NBA replays, you can actually now stop the motion and look at the scene in 360-degree perspective. And to me, that's super cool.
Wow.
Yeah, like somebody put up for a dunk, you freeze the motion, and now the camera can actually circle 360 degrees. You can actually see it.
Where?
On
TV?
NBA. You know, if you watch these games, it's really astonishing.
Where? On the television or on a website?
Yes, on TV.
How do you do that on TV? How do you say go through? Oh, they do it for you.
They do it for you. It's something they're doing as they show you a replay.
You know, I met Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right?
No comment.
You know who that is.
Yes, he used to have a very endearing name he called you, right? Right?
Huh?
Isn't this the fellow that had a very good nickname for you?
I've only met him once.
Oh, okay, never mind. Somebody else.
The basketball player, Kareem
Yes, of
Abdul-Jabbar.
course. 40 years ago, yes.
Yeah. No, I met him at the
Was that Lou Alcindor?
basketball
Yes,
stadium.
Lou Alcindor. He was a Laker.
Yeah. Right.
It was at the International Basketball Stadium in Beijing. It was absolutely, not international, Olympic. It was amazing, that place.
Oh.
Amazing. Anyway, yeah, no, good call. I'm going to have to modify the document, send it out to you guys. It'll be based on the simple recording, the simple capture, and yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I think we took the concept into some interesting directions today, so that's pretty jazzed. And I apologize for missing so many calls, but hope you guys understand I'm actually trying to make a move right now, so I'm somewhat distracted until probably early July.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
you've permanently moved to Seattle?
I'm in the process. So I arranged a situation where I'm reducing my hours, but they're going to let me work remotely. And my boss has known that I'd love to go back to Pacific Northwest. Quite frankly, after the divorce, paying for 3 different college tuitions at 4 different domiciles, my debt to credit to asset to income ratio is all worked, and my credit's horrible. I can't afford to live in the Bay Area anymore. But in Seattle, I can get a much better, much nicer place with the meager funds that I've got. So I'm headed there. And so on the 22nd, I'll be moving into a new place that I'm leasing. So after that, assuming then everything goes well, I'm going to extend invitations to all you guys to come visit me because it's a great place to have meetings and conversations, and serious or otherwise.
Cool.
Frode, you and Emily especially, okay?
Yeah, definitely. Look forward to it very much. Talking of which, I'm going to go make dinner now.
Okay. Thanks
Thank
all.
you all for today. Very good call.
Okay.
And yeah, look forward to continue.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye.